I've just found a video which is doing to the issue of obesity exactly what the fat acceptance movement does to other movements that they want to use as substitutes for real on topic discussion about the issue of whether or not you should accept being fat. Because that's what it is. And just in case anyone doesn't know, fat acceptance, I'm not talking about people who just don't want people to be mean to fat people and try to shame them out of it. That's not what fat acceptance means at this point. The fat acceptance movement is a movement telling people, especially on social media right now, and for decades in different ways, different platforms before that, like blogs, don't lose weight for any reason. There is no legitimate reason to ever not want to be fat or not want to become fat. And it's harmful if it's harmful to yourself and others if you lose weight. And so that's the summary for anyone who doesn't know. But for everyone else, you will see the parallels. If you are here because you already know what fat acceptance is, you're going to love this, because this channel is kind of giving them a taste of their own medicine right now. This channel is for the cause of letting dogs go extinct, like domestic dogs, not breeding them anymore, not having them as pets, and it reminds me of the subreddit Dog Free, and that's relevant. I just want to point out, in case anyone thinks this is satire of anything, it's not, because there are people who care this much about dogs and not wanting to see, smell, hear a dog ever again in other people's homes, in the park, anywhere. They're very much always giving arguments of why no one should have dogs. We should not breed them, and that's, I'm not even taking a side on that. They have some arguments which are on topic, legitimate downsides of dog ownership, of people breeding dogs, which most people agree that there are issues around it that we need to discuss, of how can we prevent various terrible things happening, to children around dogs, when dogs can harm people and people often harm dogs, and what do we do to stop both those things happening. In most people, the problem is that they're having, like with the fat acceptance movement, is most people are not convinced by by the legitimate arguments at this point, or they're not hearing them or whatever, to actually change their behavior in the way that this movement of this anti-dog movement wants. And because it's not working, that people are still having dogs in large numbers, there are still dogs everywhere, it seems to me, my perception, with respect, it's just that it just seems like it's a very similar phenomenon of, okay, let me find different things that might actually convince someone. If the on topic stuff doesn't, let me try and make it about other things, and any way I can, kind of a throw everything at the wall and see what sticks approach. And it just is so much like fat acceptance. The parallels are shocking. So before we even start this video where they've talked about obesity, I want to give you examples. This is just the most recent video, but they've done this before. So some of these playlists of videos that they've made or collected are on topic. It's about actual issues with dogs. But it's some of it's very tenuous links, like this one, dog loving serial killers and more. 3 videos. I'm surprised I only found 3 serial killers who like dogs, because most people like dogs. It's fat acceptance would do stuff like that, like link, oh, Hitler liked dogs, therefore, it's kind of this idea, oh, serial killers liked dogs, therefore, you know, um, yeah. Oh, so yeah. No, they say that Hitler was in favor of his population being healthy and fit, so that they could fight in the war and be productive at work. Which most governments have always been in favor of that. It actually does help your country and therefore your chance of being re-elected if everyone is fit and strong, as opposed to most governments actually prefer their population to be fit and healthy, but they will go to, oh, Hitler did. It's the same with this. Like, yes, some serial killers like dogs, because lots of humans like dogs. And serial killers are a subset of humans. It's the same kind of weird reaching, dogs attacking black people. Where is CNN and BLM? Okay, now that fat acceptance do that. They will try to say, hey, if you want to lose weight, it's in some way racist against black people. The same randomness, because you think dogs are attacking them because they're black. Like, what's the connection there? It's not really connecting to me. Yeah, again, some of these are actual problems. Like, yeah, dog attacks are a real problem to be addressed, no doubt. But it's why do you then need to go to Biden copies Hitler's dog propaganda playbook? There's 20 videos on that. 20 videos about Biden supposedly copying Hitler's dog propaganda. What would that even like say? Yeah, maybe they both like dogs. Again, lots of humans like dogs. It's not linked to politics. What? Dogs and women. Okay, this is 130 videos on this, and I've watched a couple of them, and basically, again, the argument is having a dog is misogynistic. The dog human relationship is misogynistic. If you are a woman, have your dog is it's like the patriarchy. It's so weird, and that is fat acceptance. Absolutely do that. They always try to link anyone not wanting to be fat. That's even if you're not a woman. If you're a man who wants to lose weight, it's still coming down to misogyny in society is why society doesn't like fat. Again, linking the as if women are supposed to be. I mean, yes, women are supposed to have a higher body fat percentage to be healthy because our hormones promote just growing more of our mass turns out to be fat than muscle because of hormones determining what exactly your body does with those calories, whether it turns them into bone and muscle versus fat. But women aren't supposed to be heavier than men at the same height. In fact, we might even be healthier at a little, weighing a few pounds less, as evidence that that might be the case, even though BMI doesn't currently reflect that. It is the range is used. And yet fat acceptance will say it's somehow against women to be against everyone being fat. It doesn't make any sense. Some of these are real problems. Yeah, you should be careful if you have a dog, or don't get a dog if you can't be responsible dog owner and stuff. Absolutely. Dog culture is child. I don't even know if YouTube will have an issue with that word. Neglect. You know what I'm trying to say? Dog culture is not looking after your children, and there's 55 videos on that. Dog culture. I love the term dog culture, by the way. That comes up because it's like diet culture. Everything bad is linked to diet culture in fat acceptance, and it's never clearly defined. It's kind of anytime anyone likes. I imagine it's like that. Like anytime anyone even in any way wants to lose weight, it's diet culture, and it's all lumped together with actually toxic things, like perfectly innocuous things, are all lumped together under diet culture. I would imagine dog culture in this, it's probably just anyone ever liking a dog, looking at a dog and smiling, and any anything. If it's similar in any way. Dog love is narcissism. 12 videos on that. So if you love a dog, you're a narcissist. I mean, that is a lot like how fat acceptance will say if you want to lose weight, it's because of some personality flaw, like you're a sheep. Basically, they love to imply that it's social pressure. And if you want to be slim, it's either because you just want male attention because you're an attention seeker, or it's, you're weak-minded in some way. They do this all the time, so I'm not surprised. And they certainly they call gym bros narcissists, and some surely are, but like there are narcissists of all bodies, including people in the fat acceptance movement themselves. So a little bit rich there. I'm not diagnosing them. I'm just saying there are people with, colloquially speaking, very narcissistic seeming traits of all bodies, including some of the people who promote fat acceptance. Barking cause it? Okay, yeah, sure, it absolutely can. It can cause deafness in a baby if you don't cover the baby's ears and there's a really loud dog. Same with many other, like parrots can definitely they can deafen an adult. Parrots are loud as hell. And I'm a parrot person. Parrots are a smart person. What's the phrase? Parrots are a thinking man's dog and or cat. Dog barking is annoying. Yeah, sure. Dog barking can be annoying. No problem. That's on topic. All this is on topic. But it's not very strong arguments, is it? It's not convincing people to not have dogs anymore. Most people either they will think, oh yeah, I'm not going to have a dog. I don't have a dog, right? I've made that decision for myself. It wouldn't be right for me to have a dog in my circumstances, and probably ever. And I'm not that fast. But most people aren't deciding to go on this movement of just get rid of all dogs, just don't have dogs. No one should have dogs. So most people aren't going there with them, and so it seems to me that that's why you get reaching for more issues. If your message isn't getting across in the way you want, sometimes, oh gosh, this one, dog doctors, aka veterinarians. So okay, veterinarians are not just dog doctors. Like they're doctors of many different species, but they're going to say, oh no, if you're a veterinarian, you're a dog doctor, and let's call it cheese Pringles charges, dog doctors, aka veterinarians. And there's 3 videos. I presume this is a playlist of cases of veterinarians who are being reduced to just people who like dogs. That's what a veterinarian is now, apparently. It just means you like dogs, because, forget the fact that you might have gone into it to specialize in horses. You might really like other animals a lot more than dogs. Many vets do. Like, dogs aren't even their favorite animal necessarily. But no, it's related to dogs, and it's obviously caused you to end up with cheese Pringle charges against you. Naturally, that's I haven't actually heard fat acceptance go that far yet. I've never heard them say link it to any kind of such behavior, let's say, but it wouldn't surprise me. It isn't like they do link it to other terrible things, though. They do try and say, to oppression. They love linking it to oppression, which vaguely defined, of colonialism. They like linking it to all that stuff. But I just haven't specifically heard them link it to cheese Pringles. Oregon dog culture. Oh, dog culture in the Bible. I mean, I don't know. There's 10 videos on that. Maybe you could argue that you think it's in the Bible to not have dogs. Sure. I'm not going to have an opinion on that myself. I don't know. That could be on topic. I don't really know. Some of these are obviously on topic, and some of them are obviously reaching for the stars to find some other arguments and hope that one of them appeals to some. The trouble with this method, though, here we go, dog culture is appease the ABU SER culture. I can absolutely imagine fat acceptance saying that, because, I mean, again, they will say that if you become thin, you become the oppressor. It's not that far away from the word they've used here. There was one about linking it to communism. There's 27 videos, communist elements of dog culture. How is that any different to fat acceptance? Say, here's all the ways diet culture is capitalist, or, it's the same. It's the same idea of, I can't convince you on the actual merits. I'm going to have to convince as many people as I can on things they might care about instead. But the problem is, as I was going to say, that sort of weak argument, when it's such a tenuous link to these other things, it's only preaching to the choir. Only people who already agree with you that we should get rid of dogs will go along with that. Because they're also looking for extra reasons to bolster their argument. They're also doing the confirmation biasing. And it's the same with fat acceptance. All this stuff, if you are with fat acceptance and you're watching, or you're thinking of leaving, because I'm not here to just make fun of people. I care about this issue. I care that people are being led to their early graves. It's terrible and unnecessary, painful, horrible health problems that they don't need to live with or get worse. I care about this issue, so I'm not making fun. I'm genuinely, I'm having fun along the way. This is a little amusing to me, this one. But what I'm trying to say is, if you're in fat acceptance or considering leaving, how does this make you feel? Because this is how you come across when you make arguments about, it's capitalist, it's misogynist, it's this, it's that, it's everything except just keeping it at just fat phobia, as you call it. Like, if you want to turn fat phobia into, it's really all these other things. It's really ableism. It's really homophobia. It's really it's some economic system. Whatever it is, it's you sound like this. It's how it comes across. It's so random, and it's only going to convince. It won't even convince. It's people who've already been convinced will clap when you say these things, but nobody else. You're not bringing in new recruits. Just because someone is an actual communist, for example, doesn't mean that when you say that it's, I guess, communist. I haven't actually heard them say that, but they do say anti-capitalist. So say you whatever you are, if you're socialist or a social democrat or some kind of I don't know, something if you're claiming to be anti-capitalist, most of them clearly are not actually in practice, because they support capitalism in so many ways. But the ones who say that, anyone who is actually an anti-capitalist will not agree with you on the fat problem just because you try to link it to their movement. They won't be convinced unless they are already predisposed to believing you. It just can't convince anyone, because they can see through it. Anyone who is actually an anti-capitalist will naturally, and I see it all the time, comment things like, well, you're giving all these companies so much money, and you're having to buy more and more clothes because of your constant changing of size, getting bigger, maybe getting smaller, sometimes getting bigger again. You're wearing out clothes faster. You have to keep buying more fabric. You're making yourself, you're needing to use more fuel to drive your car because of you weighing more. Various ways, and all the brand deals that the fat acceptance movement usually, like the influencers love this. The social media influencers love brand deals. It's not very anti-capitalist, is it? And actual anti-capitalists, if they're not also like suffering with binge GE disorder or some other reason of maybe lack of education around how the body works, and they actually fall for it, if they're not already falling for it, they're not going to be won over by your weak attempt to bring in an issue they do agree with. It's just preaching to the choir. Yeah. Those are some of the. Oh, no, there's one at the very top. This one was in. Okay, Epstein and dog culture. I mean, 4 videos on apparent. I don't know. Somehow dogs are like. Somehow dogs are what caused Epstein. I don't know. Or he's going to say that you're a hypocrite. If you're anti, it looks like this from this thumbnail. It looks like the argument is going to be you can't be anti Epstein and also pro dog. Like those are apparently incompatible. And I haven't heard them link Epstein specifically to diet culture, but fat acceptance do try to link it to, as I say, Hitler, just random bad people, and say, look, this bad person thinks this, or this bad group does that, and somehow link wanting to lose weight to it. And I don't know, did Epstein even like, I've never even seen a picture of Epstein with a dog. I don't know what connection they're trying to make there. Oh, and there's one more. Yeah, there was one about school system, and it does remind me of, the Department of Education uses dogs to make your kids stupid and fat. That's 4 videos on that. It's so much like, again, appealing to paranoia of, institutions are going to try and make your kids stupid and fat with dogs. It is kind of like this idea that fat acceptance has, that the institutions are all out there to try and make everyone thin at any cost, and they just want you as thin as possible, which obviously isn't true. They want you healthy weight. Like the scientists, doctors, schools are not, they don't have anything to gain from the kids being unhealthy. It doesn't make any sense. But they will say that all the teachers are fat phobic, the doctors are fat phobic, as if they, certainly some institutions do benefit from people being fat, and some benefit from them wanting to lose weight. That's true. But that whole idea of like, why would the education system want to make your kids stupid and fat with dogs or diets or anything? It doesn't. What's the motive? What's the other one? I was just. The Barbie one. There's one here. There's a playlist about Barbie doll causing people to like dogs. Like Barbie is brainwashing you. Maybe I can't find it now, but that is also a fat acceptance thing. I'll just scroll until I find it. They will say, if you want to not be fat, it's because you're brainwashed. You were brainwashed by the media, by dolls, because dolls were not fat when you were growing up, and therefore that's the only reason you don't want to be fat. It can't be anything else. It can't be your actual lived experience of it feeling worse when you were fat physically, and your life getting harder with stamina, and your asthma getting worse and things like that. No, it can't be any of that. No, I can't find it. Maybe you saw it. You probably saw it as I was scrolling. But there is definitely one there that says Barbie dolls are making people like dogs, basically. Like uses the word brainwash, and they love that word. The fat acceptance movement says that if you disagree with them, you're brainwashed all the time. So let's just very quickly see what he has to say, just in case you're thinking it's satire. It's not.
Dog ownership makes us fat. Yes. The truth is in the pattern, everybody, not in the details. The devil is in the details. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, I walk my dog all the time, and that's why I'm healthy. Yeah, maybe here and there you're going to have some people that are healthy that own dogs, but let's look at overall in America. So the United States has a high obesity rate, 40.3% of adults.
So do many countries that don't have lots of dogs. Like Turkey isn't mad on dogs, they're quite fat too.
More dogs, right? Oh, wait, what's this? We already got way too many dogs. Look at this.
Yeah, because, yes, if you feed your dogs ultra-processed food with lots of chemicals that ruin their gut microbiome, which controls appetite, then just like mice, it's been found in mice and humans, it makes you eat more. You get hungrier, so you eat more. Whereas mice and humans and presumably dogs, when they're given whole food, they don't want to overeat that much, or most of them don't. You'll always get some that do. There's genetic variation where some, for some other medical or genetic reason, do want to overeat. But most of the time, or they catch a virus, and the virus causes them to grow new fat cells, which makes them hungry, which makes them overeat and fill those fat cells up, like the chicken fat virus thing. There's always situations where it's not just ultra-processed food. But when you get epidemic levels, when the whole population or most of a population starts overeating, that's caused by the ultra processed food. So sure, if your dog food has poor standards and has got chemicals in that ruin the gut microbiome, or is very dry, which ultra processed food is usually very dry, which means it also affects your satiety. So you mistake thirst for hunger a lot of the time, and you eat more because the food you're eating is so dry. That's another way ultra processed food is thought to make people overeat, and it will do the same with dogs. If you eat these dry, horrible ultra processed dog food and it's really dry, that will potentially make them want to overeat. So it's what you're feeding them. It's not the dog's fault. The dog's not making you fat. You are making your dog fat and yourself fat. You're the human here. The idea that you want to blame the dog.
Households owning at least one dog. Something like 80 million dogs is what we have.
It's a lot of dogs, I know. But what's that got to do with anything?
I'll show you guys how.
Okay, how?
So, first off, dogs themselves have a high obesity rate. Look at it, 60%.
Not in every country. If it was dogs' fault, then dogs would be fat everywhere, surely. But why are dogs only fat in fat countries? Where people are used to eating rubbish food and maybe giving their dog some of their rubbish human food, as well as also having poor standards of the tinned dog food. Why is there that link? If it's the dog's fault, then surely because dogs don't have different cultures and different behaviors in different countries like humans do. Like, dogs don't have different food standards in different countries. Dogs are dogs everywhere. So if something is the fault of dogs, you'd expect it to be universal among dogs everywhere. The fact that it's specific to some countries, this is so much like fat acceptance, because they do this. They will point to their own country, usually the US. Sometimes other people in other countries point to the US because they're following the lead of the movement which started in the US, and so they also talk as if they are Americans, which is really weird. Some of them are British, New Zealanders, Australians, all kinds of other countries, and yet they will be making arguments which very clearly are very US-centric arguments, as if they think, it's really weird. And it's just the same thing. He's talking just about the United States, not bothering to verify if there's a real what the direction of causality is, which you could do just by looking at other countries. Are there fat people? Are there fat countries that don't have dogs? Yes. Are there countries that love dogs that are not that fat? Yes. It's insane.
60% of dogs classified as overweight or obese. This condition can lead to serious health problems.
Yes, okay.
So if you're hanging out with your dog, which is replacing human friends these days, people will get a dog instead of trying to solve their family problems. So we're surrounding ourselves with obese dogs.
No, we're making the dogs obese. If you are making your dog obese, that's your problem. Your dog didn't make you fat. You made the dog fat. You're the one feeding the dog, and the dog doesn't have the level of agency you do. The dog doesn't have the understanding of the link between what it eats and how heavy it gets. It doesn't understand that. The dog doesn't have the ability to decide it wants healthier food that won't make it feel so hungry all the time. The dog doesn't understand that maybe if it drank more water, it would help mitigate the effects of the trashy food making it hungrier than it should be. The dog doesn't have the agency because it doesn't even understand anything, and even if it did, it still couldn't go and buy dog food on its own. Or it's a dog. It's a domesticated dog, so that they're not even as smart as the ancestors that we bred them from. They're dependent on us now. That is kind of fat acceptancy, the weird reversal there of responsibility just to fit an argument, just to make the argument fit. We have to pretend that the human being is not in control of whether or not the dog is fat and they are fat.
With 3 chihuahuas that bark all day, and then their neighbor's pit bull barks
at that. So I just skipped ahead here to the stress part.
The way he barks at them. They've just become accustomed to it. But they're still experiencing stress from it, whether they admit it or not. And so, look at this. Like we said before, hormones like the cortisol, like it says here, chronic exposure.
Yes, cortisol doesn't make you get fatter, and the extent, and even when people say it makes you hold on to fat, it's kind of, but not. It's misleading because all it's doing is it's meaning that your body is using glucose in your blood rather than use for the calories. It's burning glucose in your blood and other things rather than going to the fat stores. But that's still, it's overall, the calories in, calories out is not actually altered by that. So it's really hard to go into it. I'd have to use like diagrams and stuff to explain what I mean. But this idea that cortisol makes you not able to lose weight, that's not true. You will lose weight. It just means that there's like the fat doesn't get released into your blood as easily and you'll use glucose instead, but your overall calorie balance isn't altered. It doesn't alter your overall calorie balance of in out. It doesn't. Otherwise, why are there so many people in war-torn, starving countries, they're very stressed. They've lost everything. They're very traumatized, and yeah, they're not getting fatter.
To noise has been linked to various health issues. Yeah, like overeating and other stuff.
Yeah, noise.
And I want to highlight this thing.
Sure, that's true of any noise pollution. Like, but how is most noise caused by dogs in the United States? I don't think so. I think there's a lot more noise of various things. I I just don't understand the idea that therefore we need to get rid of dogs as if that will stop. No one's going to be stressed anymore if there are no dogs. No one's going to be stressed. No one's going to be stressed anymore if there's no noise from dogs.
We're looking at stress hormones like cortisol.
That is so fat acceptancy, because they would make arguments like
next
this.
Slide. Cortisol. So again, the barking and the noise and the constant hullabaloo that dogs are causing when you're in an environment with them, it elevates your cortisol. And
Americans are not more stressed than many of the countries that are less fat than Americans. Okay, that's not a consistent finding at all. Like, yeah, maybe are Americans more stressed than some other slim countries? Probably. I don't know that they're more stressed than Japan in terms of lifestyle. Like, they don't, like, yeah, Americans work longer hours than the French. That's true. But do Americans work longer hours than the Japanese? No. So it's not consistent.
But hang on a minute. The younger generations are the ones that own more dogs.
Oh gosh.
Back in the day, we didn't own so many dogs.
And we weren't fat, so there you go.
Share of pet ownership.
Yeah, sometimes things happen at the same time as other things. It's called a coincidence.
So first, let's look back at the dog barking. Remember, we talked about that. Well, those are one of the most common issues reported by neighbors. There's a study done by the Nextdoor app or the website where that was like the top thing talked about in the forums is people being mad at their neighbors and disputes over dog barking. Yeah. So let's look at disputes, or as they're also called, arguments. Arguments can lead to stress eating.
Okay, so basically we're still on stress. Barking causes stress, therefore barking makes you fat.
Often related to care responsibilities, training methods, and where pets are allowed.
Arguments. Yeah, pets definitely can cause arguments. I've experienced that. It didn't make me fat, though. I still had a choice, and I didn't. I remember when I was arguing with my family that I lived with at the time about a particular animal in the house. It was very stressful. I wasn't forced to overeat, though, because, again, I'm not like an animal that doesn't understand the relationships between behaviors and long-term consequences. Like I did as an adult human of normal range intelligence and an education and access to the information on the web in 20 whatever that year that was. I had agency, much more so than the poor dog that you're trying to blame everything on.
There's several studies on this. Like a dog can cause so many thousand arguments in its life.
Okay, that's enough, I think. Get the point. I'm not, I hope this wasn't too mean. I just found it very, honestly, the reason this is so amusing to me is the connection to fat acceptance. Personally, I'm not, I'm not like actually thinking this is a bad person or anything. So I really hope that it doesn't come across as too mean-spirited. I'm just so blown away by the parallels between, I guess this just shows that a lot of what they do in fat acceptance, it's more about, it's trying to be persuasive. I don't know to what extent they really believe those things. I think they could make themselves believe them. But it just goes to show, like, I really want to get across this idea to any one of them that might be watching. You're not convincing to people who don't already agree with you. In the same way, looking at this, does this convince you? If you did not already agree that we should not have dogs, would any of these arguments convince you? I don't think they would convince many people. And that's what you're doing. When you bring in racism, misogyny, all these terrible things, oppression, when you link it to what's going on in different parts of the world, it's not convincing. It actually hurts your case because people just turn off and they stop listening to you altogether more often than not. Yeah, that's my video today, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.